Hi there, John Sanei here. I'm in St. Louis at the moment, and I'm so sorry I can't be there with you in person. But I'm going to make you a quick video about, I think, the most important topics that we need to be focusing in on. I'm actually in the States talking about these topics, so they're very on top of mind. And I think they're on top of mind for the whole world around us. And the two quotes that really underpin all the research and all the new books that I'm writing at the moment is really focused on two clear concepts. And these two clear concepts require us to rethink how we add value to the world as human beings, as well as how do we simplify the information that's coming at us. And the two quotes are, and the first one is, complexity is the enemy of execution. And what happens to us when we are given topics that are too complex, like artificial intelligence and these converging technologies that are happening around us, what we usually do is we delete, distort, and generalize this information. We don't even know we're doing this because our brains want to save energy. We want to bring some level of certainty and familiarity into our understanding of it. And this lack of simplicity for this information gets us to not engage with this information in the best way possible. And the second quote is from Einstein. He says, "You cannot solve a problem from the same awareness that created it." And so we have to ask ourselves, what is awareness and how quickly do we change it? Because no matter how smart you are or how rich you are or how successful you've been, if your awareness is stuck in yesterday's world, in the world of economies of scale and efficiency, over adaptability, experimentation, and lateral creativity, you won't see the opportunities ahead of you. It really is as clear as that. And if you think this is a little bit far out there, have you seen the share price of Zara over the last 4 years? It's gone from $19 billion to $11 billion. And you have to ask yourself, what happened? Zara is an incredible company. I'm a huge fan. They are the kingpins of efficiency. They are the biggest players in the world of economies of scale and fashion. And when they arrived in the world of fashion 15 years ago, they dramatically changed every single fashion brand in the world, all the way from Primark all the way up to Louis Vuitton. Everybody became a fast fashion brand. But over the last few years, losing a third of their market share has to get us all to ask two questions. What was so complex that that team did not think about? And what level of awareness was that team thinking at that they didn't see the advent of Shein? And Shein has arrived and has skyrocketed up to $100 billion valuation, about to IPO in London, and they run a totally different business model. They run a business model called economies of learning and not economies of scale. And that's Zara as one example. We have Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Audi, and VW that are having a terrible time of the marketplace because we can see that those sales are starting to stagnate and go downwards. We're seeing the advent of BYD, Tesla, and so many new Chinese cars on the roads that are far superior and far cheaper, meaning that the level of awareness and complexity stopped those major organizations from making new decisions. And I've got so many examples, and my last one, I promise, is Google. The kingpins of innovation have been caught with their their pants down, because they had all the technology for OpenAI, but they didn't launch it because they were protecting their old business models, their old search engines. And so as leaders sitting here watching this, are you asking yourself this most important question? What is so complex that I'm not engaging with it fully? Have I built the teams around me that are able to deal with the things that I don't understand? And what is my awareness and how quickly do I change it? Now, to give you a bit of a sort of summary of what this looks like, and if you've watched me speak before, you'll understand that the context of explaining what the skills of tomorrow are incredibly important, because without the context, they just become facts. With context, it gives it so much more depth of understanding why it's necessary for us to catalyze our behavior in brand new ways. And so for us to understand where we are right now, we have to remember that this is the largest transformation that humanity has ever gone through. We've never actually dealt with anything with our level of intelligence and surpassing our intelligence over the next few years in dramatic ways. And this transformation that we're going through has three phases. And all transformations, no matter how small or how large, always have three phases. We can't skip the phases. And whether you're leaving one house to another, one job to another, one business to another, one relationship to another, or this massive transformation that we're going through today, we have to realize that skipping any of these three phases is actually detrimental to us. The first phase is sadness. Sadness to leave the shore of familiarity. Sadness to leave our comfort zones. And sometimes sadness to leave the identity that we've been developing over the last 5, 10, 20, or 30 years. Very difficult to leave that. Because the second phase of transformation is the strange new world that really doesn't make any sense, as well as we don't have the skills for it. And it's changing so quickly that it's really uncomfortable for us to really try and grip and understand what is happening. Now, what most of us do is we intellectualize this change. And I'm here to tell you that you can't think your way through this. You have to feel your way through this. This is an emotional process for us to take on as human beings. And we've never really been prized for emotions. We've been prized for intellect, for outcome-based thinking, for a very different type of skill that's been educated and expected from us over the last 200 years of the Industrial Revolution. And in this process, we realize that if we don't process the emotions of sadness, they show up as anger. It was C.S. Lewis who said it best. He said, "I sat with my anger long enough until she told me her name was grief." And so we have a world right now perplexed by strangeness, anxious for strangeness, angry somewhat for strangeness. And the reason for this is we haven't processed the emotion of sadness to go through this process of arriving at strangeness with optimism, with curiosity, and with fascination. And when we are able to process these emotions, we arrive at the strange new world with exploration energy, not fear and trepidation. And the third phase of all transformation is for us to get to an adventure. And this adventure, again, means we have wind in our sails and we're able to now express ourselves in brand new ways. But we're a good 5 to 10 years away from that. And the reason it's important for us to understand this is that everything we once implicitly trusted is not trustable anymore. Think about education and think about the hospital system and think about politics and think about the economic system, and all of it seems to be up for question for us. And so understanding that this is an emotional process is by far one of the most important things that we could do. The second thing we have to think about is how do we simplify artificial intelligence? And really, I don't have much time to get into it, but just to explain to you that many of us watching this don't know what electricity is, but we know what a toaster is. And many of us don't really understand the internet, but we know what Facebook is. And what we do is we get caught up in the sort of idea of what is AI and is it going to be smarter than humans? And is it, these are hyperbole questions. They're not really important. When does AGI come, or sort of like this mass intelligent machine that's going to come and be smarter than all of us? And this is really not the question we should be asking. I think the question we should be asking is how do we simplify decision making when it comes to AI? And there's something called the AI Opportunity Radar. And if you reach out to my office, they will give you the details for it. But the AI Opportunity Radar is a circular strategy system. And in it, what we have to think about is what part of AI are we using inside our businesses? What part of AI are we exposing ourselves to be able to make better decisions? You see, most organizations and most businesses are using AI to bring efficiencies to existing systems. They're not really thinking about exciting customers in brand new ways, because pattern recognition and pattern repetition is what AI does excellently. And what it can do is preempt customers' needs, preempt customers and suggest to them the things that they require in the most subtle and advising kind of way. But we can't use the same team that's bringing efficiencies to an existing business to also think about customers. Or we could be using AI to change the foundations of how our businesses actually operate. The core offerings can switch because of using AI. And again, this is not by the same team that's looking at bringing an existing efficiency to your existing team. And the last way for us to think about AI is doing something brand new, something totally out the box, something totally that blows everybody's minds away. And again, we realize that that requires brand new capabilities, brand new budgets, brand new ambition. And so what we have to realize is that there's 4 clear quadrants. We're bringing efficiency to an existing business. We're exciting customers in brand new ways. We're changing the core offering of our business, or we're starting something brand new. And so we understand, again, the simplification of AI allows us to execute rather than the complexity of it and us ignoring it. And then lastly, awareness. And what is awareness and how quickly do we change it so that we don't get caught like Zara, Mercedes-Benz, and all these other companies that are going through this with incredibly smart executives, with most probably all the top strategists around them that are not seeing the opportunities in front of them, all based on a lack of emotional intelligence and a lack of understanding of what awareness is. And awareness truly is just our personalities. And our personalities is a second question we need to be asking is what are our personalities and how do we unpack them so that we can think about things in brand new ways? And we have to ask ourselves, what is our personality? And our personality is just the way we think the way we act, and the way we feel. And even though that's quite simplistic, we have to realize that neuroscience is proving to us today that we have between 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, of which 90% are the same thoughts as yesterday. Our brains have been trained and educated for familiarity, not adaptability. And if we are thinking and acting and feeling in the same ways, which means our personality never changes, which means our futures never change, which means our awareness never changes, which means we never see opportunities ahead of us. And so we have to start to think about, how do we change the way we think about the way we think? And it all comes down to brainwaves and the accessing of different types of brainwaves. And what we have become addicted to as a human society is something called the high beta brainwave. And then this high beta brainwave, we're always anxious and afraid for everything in front of us. And no matter where you are, under how much wealth you have, if you're suffering from this high beta brainwave, you're just not in a happy place. And in order for us to change our awareness, to go about through the process of unlearning old behaviors to pick up new behaviors, we really just only have to change our brainwaves. And the brainwave that we have to access is one called alpha brainwave. And in this alpha brainwave, what we have is a much calmer, clearer decision-making process. And in this process of having a calm nervous system, we literally start to see more opportunities. We literally start to unlearn old behaviors and relearn new ones and start to prepare for the future rather than making decisions about the past. And the way that we move into this alpha brain state, I mean, I've got books written about this and whole talks, but I just want to give you 3 scenarios for us to think about. And the truth is this is an emotional process, not an intellectual one, as I've said already. And so the first thing we have to realize is that many of our futures are determined by our past. And if there's trauma in our past, we are not making clear decisions about the future. We're almost triggered into a state of anger and frustration, not making clear decisions about the future. And, you know, the global icon, Nelson Mandela, was famous for one thing: healing his past. And in that process, allowing a country to evolve like we did in South Africa when he came into power. So number 1 is healing our past. Number 2 is sitting quietly every day for 10 minutes and imagining an optimistic future memory. And my new book is called Future Memories, coming out next year. And it's really about this idea that we think that memories have time attached to them, but they really don't. Memories are timeless in many ways. If you've ever gone through a breakup or a divorce, you would have mourned the future house you were going to buy with each other, the future children you were going to have with each other. So their memories are futuristic and from the past, and they really are timeless. But what we usually do when we are highly stressed and addicted to a high beta brainwave is we catastrophize the future. We don't actually look at it in optimistic ways. So we aren't actually retraining the brain, recalibrating the brain, and firing and wiring new neurons inside the brain by not being able to sit quietly for 10 minutes a day to think about the future in optimistic ways. If you look at some brain scans, this literally changes the brain. It literally makes the brain more adaptable. And the third thing is the power of meditation. In order for us to be able to focus on what we need to focus on, be giving us that power of focus, but also taking us away from a level of anxiousness into a state of calm nervous system, meditation gives us the real tool. I call it brain gym. And if you want to think about what a high beta brainwave is, it's like having a car on the highway in second gear, revving at 7,000 revs. This is most people around the world. There's that, ooh, and what happens when it's doing this continuously? It pops, called cancer, blood pressure, all sorts of different diseases. And so as a human of the future, in order for us to change our awareness, we have to start asking questions around neuroscience and how do we shift those brain states by healing our past, by developing future memories that are optimistic and positive, but also by meditation, by giving us the opportunity to calm our nervous systems. And if we're able to simplify the way we think about artificial intelligence and calm our nervous systems, what we're able to do is we're able to execute better, and we're able to calm our nervous systems, change our awareness, and make decisions for tomorrow rather than defending the decisions of yesterday. I hope this wasn't too quick, and I hope that it gives you a clear synopsis of the questions we need to be asking. All the way from St. Louis, this is Sanei. I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference. Ciao, and see you soon.